When I started to look into doing a podcast, I knew I had a lot to share and say, and I wanted to do it in an audio format. I was a little intimidated, not going to lie, about how I was going to go about recording and editing and distributing and all those things because technology is not my strong suit. Naturally, I can learn things. And so when I started to take webinars and ask questions on Facebook and other platforms, I decided that Anchor was the best way to go. It's been a bit of a one-stop shop for me. I can record all of my episodes, I can edit them. It's been really nice because it's free. And when I started to do a podcast, it was, okay, how am I going to rebuild my practice? I had to close my practice down because of COVID, federal mandate. So how was I going to rebuild things? How was I going to give myself something to do? Because this defines me. What I do, it defines me. So I really needed an outlet, and the budget was like nothing. So having this free option has been great. I am recording on my laptop, but I can also record on my phone if I decide that's a way to go, or maybe I don't have my laptop on me. And so that's pretty exciting to know I can do it from there too. They also take and distribute to various apps for people to listen on, which again, that is taking one stressor away from me so I can focus on my content. And if it's something you'd like to do, if you have something you'd like to say, I can't recommend it enough for somebody who's a newbie and starting out. And I feel like even if I wasn't, new at this, it's been something I've been doing for a while, I would still like this platform because of the ease of everything. So if it is something you'd like to look into, you can download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm. That's ANCHOR.fm to get started. I'm your host, Carrie Errata, Akashic Records reader, psychic sleuth, and spiritual guide. And this is The Infinite Dance, the Akashic Podcast. Welcome back if you are joining me from episodes past. And if this is your very first episode, a big warm welcome to you for being here. I appreciate you stopping by. I'm getting a little bit of a late start with this one. I actually recorded it a week ago. And when I went to leave for a little vacation last Thursday, I realized there was only about 12 minutes of this almost 30-minute episode recorded. And I did bring my microphone on vacation, but it was just not good. It wasn't a good place to record. So out of all. And I stayed by the ocean the first 2 nights, and Bodega Bay at my old stomping grounds. I used to live in a little town right outside of there, and there's a foghorn that goes off every 5 seconds. So you hear that, and it's actually not as irritating as it sounds like when you're around it, but to record wouldn't be great. And the place I was staying at, the little cottage, wasn't well insulated. And so I just said, you know what, I'm just going to do it when I get back. And I'm back a day late because of weather. We had some torrential rains and flooding in the area I was in. So I ended up staying an extra night just to be safe. So I wasn't driving during a flood zone, which was really scary to be around. Actually, I was on the road for about 2 hours when I was just circling around roadblocks and having to turn around. So my apologies for coming out late. There's just been one little snafu after the other. But here we are. This episode 8 is Sowing Blessings and Ghost Stories. So I'm just going to go over some things about sewing with you. My favorite time of the year and how thin the veil is between our world and the next. It's a great time to communicate with passed on loved ones. If there's messages you've been wanting to say to them or wondering if they have some messages for you, it's a great time to ask. And I always say, of course, because I like to ask a lot of questions, what's to the benefit of all and who's coming through and why this this year, if it's somebody different. I know I've gotten more excuse me, communication from a cousin who passed away this year. And it was really exciting because I was really close to her when she was alive. And her reasoning was that she had a daughter that is here, and she's 12 now. And she was really trying to make sure she was doing all she could from the other side for her daughter. And it kind of took her a while to get her own records updated, even though it was final. She knew she was passing, and that was how it was going to be. It wasn't a surprise to her. So, but it's really nice to have the communication. So I will most likely have a um, trip going up to Mount Shasta soon because that's where her daughter lives with my aunt and uncle. Magical Mount Shasta. So I'm so excited to go there and visit her and be guided by Adrian. So there's a little way I communicate with my passed on loved ones and honor them and honor their requests and messages and to feel close. It feels good to have that closeness still. So just before I get into the messages, because I did do a tarot pull, I'm going to go over the messages and then read the ghost stories because it's my ghosts and tarot um, deck that I just love, especially this time of year. Being by Bodega Bay, it pretty much rained the whole time I was there. There was probably about 8 total hours in a row where it didn't rain of some sort. And so when I woke up on Friday morning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go closer to the bay because when I was staying near the bay, but if you go up the coast just 5 minutes, then you can get out and there's a beach with the waves crashing and whatnot. And so I went to a couple of the beaches I would go to all the time. Salmon Creek and Schoolhouse Beach were two of my favorite back in the day, and it was just a stormy sea, so stormy, lots of fog, so I couldn't see very far. Waves just crashing one after the other, and especially over at Schoolhouse Beach, there's a lot of large rocks. So you get to see the waves crashing on these rocks. It's real mystical. And, I had my good cry. My vacation turned out to be a transmutation vacation. That's what I'm dubbing it. And really transmuted the last little tendrils and remnants from a past relationship. And there were so many signs and things to let me know this is what's happening right now, and one after the other. So I'll do a segment on that trip because it just did seem very poignant that I was there at this time. And the one interesting thing, oh, there's many this whole trip, but one interesting thing, and it felt good, by the way, to have that good cry while she was so stormy and it was so misty that morning. I followed a camper on the way out of town. So I stayed for 2 nights and I was then going to go stay with my cousin. And on the way out of town, it was about 5 miles till you get out of the town of Bodega Bay and you turn left to get into the town of Bodega. And I followed this camper, and on the back of this camper, it said Carrie Light, and it was spelled Carri hyphen Lite. I spell my name like that, Carri, which is not a very common way to spell Carrie. And how perfect. Yes, Carrie is light now. I definitely left some things and embraced the sea and her wisdom and absolute cleansing. You know, as much as time stands still, when you stand and stare at the ocean, and it really does, there is this rapid, things are going to change. Things are going to not be like that anymore. And it was so absolute. And I stood there and embraced every bit. So yes, Carrie is a very much lighter. And I thought that was just so cool that I followed that trail, that camper coming out on my way out. And I thought when I took this trip, I was going to do some like go see some houses and areas where there's known hauntings or ghosts, like the Potter House where they shot The Birds. Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds was filmed in Bodega, the town of Bodega. But I then was very quickly shown I had my own ghosts to chase and transmute. So how perfect was that? And I live close by now, so it's not like it's going to be a long time coming to actually be able to go see again. Before I was living in Colorado, where I'd have to take the flight and all that. Now it's just a drive. And this part of California, from where I am, without any traffic or weather, it's about 4.5 hours. So not a bad little drive. Go from the mountains to the ocean, and that is why we live in the state of California or near it, because that's pretty special to be able to do in a day. All right, so on to the Ghost and Spirit Tarot and the messages that came through. So I did a 3-card pull, and then I turned over the bottom one. So I'm going to read all 4 of the cards. I'm going to read you my interpretation when I pulled them out and what I got. And then I'm going to read you the stories that go along with it. I love the stories that go along with each ghost that represents each card. So it's a different ghost from a different area of the world and all the tales that go along with that. So the first card I pulled out was the Queen of Wands. How perfect this time of year to pull out the Queen of Wands. And in this card, she's standing at this water's edge. There's this leafless tree that's twisty around her. There's a quarter moon. She's holding, she's not holding an orb, but there's like an orb around her hand. So it almost looks like she's holding an orb, and there's these birds flying around her, and there's energy all around her. And she has her arms kind of outreached, and she looks very strong and very confident. And to me, this is spiritual knowing and sovereignty, looking towards the future. When I got this, that's exactly what I got, is that, and I know this is usually like what had happened card, but I really try to read them as a group. And so I will go into how I read all of what has happened. So the Queen of Wands, right? Being passionate and being spiritual and knowing and feeling confident in that. The second card that was pulled is the High Priest. And this card is a priest-like figure, and he has no feet, right? Because he's a ghost and he's holding a book. So very Akashic records, right? Getting the Akashic records right here. Being spiritual, knowing and spiritual, having a spiritual freedom and knowing your passion, but also knowing your soul's journey and knowing what is going on. So in knowing, higher knowledge. And what is our past teaching us? What is that? The records of our past teaching us of what's going on now. Because the third card was the Five of Wands, right? This is a very heart-wrenching, challenging card, right? It's a 5 and it's in the wands. So spiritually challenging. And the message I got was doing the work is challenging. It is a challenge to do the work. To do the spiritual work, we need to transmute so much of our personal past and especially our collective past that we're all kind of coming to more now, where maybe it was apparent, it's even more apparent. And we're learning to speak different and think different and interact different with each other, and spiritually. Five of Wands, passion. It's a lot. And this card is it's a Japanese ghost, and I'll read the whole tale, but he actually has a sword in his hand, and he has one hand on the ground. The sword's pointing down, so the tip's pointing down to the ground. And he's in this look of defeat with the ghost that's coming in from his past. And it's just the two of them. And he's very forlorn looking. Um, so it's a lot. It's a lot when you look into your past and you face your past and you face the ghosts and the things that are coming in from your past that are reminding you of what has happened. But then the challenge, right? The challenge is, how long do you need to suffer your ego? Okay, so that, to me, that's what I got from this. And it was kind of daunting to see it come out third, but that's the story, right? How are you spiritually free, spiritually knowing, to know your past, to know your soul's journey, and to seek a higher knowledge, to seek a higher knowing, to transmute, to face and transmute the things that you have gone through. And the bottom card is the Two of Pentacles. And this one is all different kinds of ghosts. So there's happy ghosts, there's mischievous looking ghosts, there's contemplative looking ghosts, there's some that look like just a skull and some that look more like a human face. There's two pentacles, of course. So it's a five-sided star with a circle around it. And it's, how are we juggling our earthly duties, all of the earthly duties, especially the ones in relationship to money, or what causes us to feel like we need to be pulled, especially when it comes to financial things. It takes a combo of all of ourselves, right? The spiritual, energetic, physical, to find joy in our dailies. How are we finding joy in our dailies as we go about paying our bills and doing our tasks and all of those things? So here's the stories from the book, The Ghost and Spirit Tarot by Lisa Hunt. So she, again, put different ghosts from different areas to the cards and then wrote the meaning of it. So the Queen of Wands is the white ladies. These lovely diaphanous ghosts dance near moonlit ravines, bridges, and other narrow passageways. If the passerby acted kindly, he would be treated well. But if he was rude, he risked punishment. White ladies could be helpful to travelers, women in childbirth, and minors. The transparency of the dress suggests a deeper connection with the non-material world. The presence of all the elements, water, earth, and fire, and air, indicates the limitless possibilities. I love that. Limitless possibilities. And the divinatory meaning of the Queen of Wands: be open to the female influences in your midst. Social opportunities may present themselves to you. So that was the Queen of Wands, the first card. Second card was the High Priest. And this High Priest is notated by, it's called an apparition. Apparitions are usually ghosts of the dead who manifest to convey a message. They typically appear through limited visual perception and are often heard or sensed and not seen. Some are deceased souls who briefly visit friends and relatives, while others may haunt particular individuals or places. Some appearances initiate good luck, while others augur impending crises. This apparition appears in a brief impulse of energy to deliver an important message. The orbs of light surrounding him represent souls traveling to higher places of consciousness. The open book symbolizes knowledge, wisdom, and open-mindedness. In the divinatory meaning, a spirit messenger may have important information to impart. Use the opportunity to seek guidance and advice before making any crucial decisions. I like that. So check in with the higher realm. Check in with your higher self. The space for that is so ripe right now. That third card, here's the Five of Wands. And this is the ghost of Iowa. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's Oiwa. And the tale behind the ghost of Iowa is there was a man named Lemon whose lust for another drove him to poison his wife, Oiwa, who had just given birth to their son. After her death, Lemon returned to his selfish desires and intended to marry his paramour. But the vengeful spirit of Iowa followed him everywhere and soon appeared on the face of his new bride. Lemon impulsively took his sword and beheaded the ghoulish figure before realizing his grave mistake. There lay the head of his new bride, and not that of the ghost of Oiwa. And again, though this is a Wands card, the sword that Lemon is holding is the instrument of tragedy. He's on his knees, defeated, as he looks to his shadow, symbolic of the unrestrained ego and the consequences of his actions. Oiwa's large head represents a problem that did not go away, but in fact became bigger. And again, so he's on his knees with a sword pointed down with his hand on the ground, and her head is this ghost coming in like over him. And the divinatory meaning is an unexpected obstacle will blind your judgment and leave you disoriented and confused. Relationship problems may be on the horizon. Prepare for struggle and regret. So again, 5 challenge, there might be an obstacle. It might be tougher than you thought. And it's gonna cause some strife between your interpersonal relationships, especially those ones we've had for a long time. For example, family. And prepare for struggle and regret. That's, again, how long are you going to how long are you going to feel like you need to suffer your ego space? Okay, that's going to be a choice. That's where you get to choose how long you want to be in that space. The last and final card is the Two of Pentacles, and this one is presented by the Lemures, and then it's a slash Lares, Lemures, and then also called Lares. So there's the good and the bad in these ones. And this is coming from the ancient Romans believed in good ghosts and bad ghosts. The good ghosts, known as Lares, were envisioned as blissful dancing youths. They served as tutelary spirits and were venerated for their auspicious presence. The malevolent lemures were ambulant skeletons that haunted homes, threatening the inhabitants. The spirits converge in a confluence of order and chaos. The patterns suggest that our own behavior can determine which type of ghosts will emerge. Ooh, I like that. So what type of ghost is going to emerge? What are you going to align with? The two pentacles in opposite corners suggest light and dark, conscious and unconscious, yin and yang. And the divinatory meaning, you may have to juggle responsibilities and make compromises along the way. Be careful not to take on too much. Sometimes the initial enthusiasm is incongruent with what is realistically possible. So that's good. Again, checking in with what is actually going to be. I'm hearing ease. What's going to help you find ease while juggling all of this? So that's your Ghosts and Spirits Tarot pull. Sow and Blessings. I wanted to just pop on and give some of those. I do have more ghost story, discarnate soul story interviews, and those are just taking a little longer to get recorded and edited. So that's just how it's been lately. So I'm just going with the flow. All right, what do I need to do differently? How am I going to juggle this to find the joy? Right? We're getting those messages. I'm getting it loud and clear and trying to make the necessary changes to just keep going and keep enjoying. And I hope you keep enjoying this podcast. And if you'd like a private reading, you can reach me at ancientbodyworks.co. I do have social media, part as The Infinite Dance, which is the name of the podcast. I'm on Facebook as The Infinite Dance. It's a private group. You're welcome to come on over and join in on conversations. And on Instagram, I am Ancient Bodyworks. I'm also on Facebook as Ancient Bodyworks. That is my umbrella company and my business name for the work I do. I hope you're enjoying the Samhain season, and I will most likely come on, I'm not sure what day, with another guided meditation for Samhain before next Tuesday. So I'm just not sure what day that's going to be. I'm not committing to a day. These cards will be available on those social media, so I'm going to take pictures, and then you can go ahead and check them out so you can have something to follow along to with the podcast. And I hope you continue to peel back all the layers and check into all the different sides of yourself and each other as you continue to ask yourselves and each other, may I have this dance?